Welcome to the next Gatekeeper Conversations. I'm absolutely delighted to have Mark Hathaway with me here today. Mark is the founder of Biohealth Technology. He is a biohacker and a cellular microscopist. Welcome, Mark.
Yeah, hi Nat. Yeah. I'm excited. It's been too long, 2 years, but we got there. Yeah, I'm very, very excited too.
Yeah. Just to give everyone a little bit of context. As Mark just mentioned, we've known each other for 2 years, and actually, we had a very interesting encounter. You know, the way that our paths actually crossed. I was in Cambodia on vacation, and it was actually just after I received this download to start hosting the Gatekeeper Conversations. I think it was probably the next day, actually. I was sitting next to a juice shop. I was sitting at a juice shop, and this gentleman sat down next to me, and we started chatting. And I remember you saying to me, Mark, you know, what do you do? And I told you, and then I said, what do you do? And you said, I do something very niche. And, that immediately, piqued my curiosity. Tell us about how you got into this work.
Yeah, well, it was about 10 years ago. I was in my late 40s, and I had a heart attack. I had a small heart attack. It wasn't a massive big deal, but it was a heart attack. And through the process of testing and doing lots of other things and going in and doing all the mainstream medicine testing, I discovered a few other things, and we discovered I had while I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I had a lot of other things going on. Basically, I was a mess. But I was the more people I talked to, the more confused and frustrated I got, because I'm sure a lot of people that I was talking to would tell me, what they were telling me was correct, but it didn't. I couldn't piece it all together. It didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to switch and do some study into what's going on in more natural medicine, because this makes more sense to me. And to believe it or not, I came across the same issue. I came across a lot of really good stuff, some really good people, but a lot of it didn't make sense. And as I discovered, a lot of the mainstream and also a lot of natural medicine are still tackling things at the wrong level. Particularly, what I came across was on both sides of the sort of the medicine, if you like, the natural medicine and mainstream medicine. I was seeing a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration. And I thought, well, I'm going to have a look into this for myself. And I started doing as much research as I could into natural medicine, into the body, how we worked. And, my background at that time, I worked as an organizational change agent. My job was to understand and analyze the structure of behavior in an organization and in mining operations. So, it was very simple for me to switch, because when you think about an organizational problem or an organizational behavioral problem or a bad this or a bad that, that's like a symptom. That's not the problem. The problem is the environment, the organization. And that's that's the work I had been doing for years. So when I became sick, I thought, well, I want to understand the structure of my illness. How did I get there? I'm not designed to get there. So there must be some structure if we look into it. And that's when I came across live cell microscopy. I came across live blood analysis, and I thought straight away, I need to see my blood, because now I'm looking at the structure of what's going on inside my body, because it's very easy to look into a mirror and think this is who we are. No, we're not. This is not who we are. If you look deeper and deeper and deeper, you start to see the very things that are going on that are going to produce what you see in the mirror in 3 months' time. So it was very easy for me to switch that thinking to looking at the blood. And I just found someone in Brisbane who had a microscope, and I went along, had a look at my blood. I already done enough research to be able to have a pretty good idea what I was going to see, because I was a mess, lots of inflammation. It was crazy. And I didn't want to consult, and I remember getting the blood up on the screen, and within the first 10 seconds, it changed my life, because I thought, holy cow,
what did you see specifically? What did you see specifically that really...
An enormous amount of inflammation, fibrin. Yeah, in your lot of blood, when you get when you get a lot of inflammation in the blood, you get this fibrin. This is what stops you bleeding to death. When you cut your finger off, you have platelets, you have this fibrin that produces as like a cobweb, and it stops flow. It stops flow. Okay, it's meant to stop flow. But if you've got a lot of inflammation in the body, you've got it everywhere, and therefore it coagulates the blood. This is why I had a heart attack. And I later discovered through my work and my training that I could fix that up in 10 minutes.
And this is not something when you went the mainstream approach. So this is the first time you actually saw this and you discovered this, and this was kind of brought to your attention.
Yeah, I had no idea about anything. I had no idea about myself. My idea was it was all in the head, and I know a lot of it is in the head. But it was all about, I had no idea how sick I was. But like I said, it was more about looking for help and not finding that help. And then getting into microscopy, buying myself a microscope, turning my life around in 14 weeks. In between, I went to Chicago, did some very specialized biochemistry training, came back, worked on myself, healed myself in about 14 weeks. And it was then that I knew I have to do this. This is my thing. I'm good at it because I learned a hell of a lot. And it was from that moment onwards that, that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And the rest of my life will be educating people, especially people that are already in the profession, to use some of these tools because it's enormously powerful.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting what you said as well, kind of talking about just the symptoms being addressed. And I know you often talk about this, about, seeing the body as a whole. It's this whole machine. And, what you're telling me here is that, and this has been my experience as well, going, having an issue and then going to the doctor and then, the symptoms are kind of addressed. But what about what else is going on underneath? And, when you've shared some images with me about, what's going on within the body, it also blew me away, actually. It just makes you look at yourself in a completely different way.
Yeah, we have to appreciate that. A few things that if we look after what we see in the mirror, it's too late. We go to the doctor, it's too late. We've just been diagnosed with tumor. It's too late. But had you looked close enough, and with some of the tools, especially with the bloods that I do, if you had looked close enough at some things a few years ago or a year ago, whatever, you would have prevented that from happening in the first place.
So really, it's interesting. And I was chatting to someone about this today, is that, we try to eat well, we try to get enough sleep, et cetera, et cetera. And we kind of take things at surface value, but, and what you're sharing makes perfect sense. Actually, we really need to be looking at what is going on inside our bodies and tracking that.
Absolutely. Because look, I work with about 10,000 clients over the last 10 years, and I can tell you the majority of them already have. I don't get simple clients. People come with me with big problems. The majority of them are already on a very good diet. Like I don't have to talk to them about diet. They're on a good diet. That's not the problem. Yeah, it's the ability of the body to be able to process the fuel that they're being given, and the assumption, the false belief that just because you're eating a certain food, you're getting a certain nutrition, is where that's a big disconnect, because you're not what you eat, you're what you assimilate. And everybody I work with, every one of those 10,000 people, have not had the ability, the chemistry in place for their body to be able to utilize the nutrition that was being fed to them, efficiently, so that they can maintain health and vitality. And that's how sickness groups in.
Yeah, and I remember you even mentioning to me as well, and this really also made a big impression on me, is that even if I'm taking supplements, even if I'm mindful of my diet, that doesn't necessarily mean that my body is absorbing these nutrients.
No. And this is the simple stuff that I focus on. Digestion's a big one, and very few people, I pieced together from a lot of different areas and a lot of very, very, very brilliant people. And I understand the dynamic. I understand the chemistry of digestion. I understand the importance of having certain pHs in certain places in the digestive tract for your body to be able to pick up minerals. And a lot of people, I could say 95% of people I work with have pHs that are out. There's a calculation I do and a formula I use, but their pHs in their digestive tract is out. Why? A lot of the reasons because they have low stomach acid, which is the root cause of so many problems in this world. So their chemistry is out. So they do not have, because all minerals are pulled into the body through a through electromagnetism, like everything in the body. And pH affects that directly. So if you have pHs out, you start missing out on minerals. And if you start to struggle, the first mineral that you're going to start missing out on is iodine. How many people have thyroid problems? How many people have iodine problems? How many people are taking iodine but do not have the chemistry to be able to assimilate it? We have to have the right chemistry.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think also something else I'd love you to just talk about too is you mentioned to me about, in your own personal journey, you struggled a bit with anxiety and depression, but as soon as you started bringing your body back into balance, and I think you mentioned particularly your digestive system, this started to address these issues. And yeah, if you could talk a bit more about that.
Well, yeah, I think it was a process of really not trying to address anything. I had anxiety, I had some depression, but I wasn't really tackling it. I had psoriasis, I had some eczema, I wasn't really tackling it. But through the process of focusing on what was going on in my body, because I was lucky. Okay, I had a microscope, a $20,000 microscope. I had it on my desk. I was just like every day I did something. I would look at the blood, and I would look at the environment. I would look at the plasma, which is the environment, which is going to tell me, was it a positive mood or was it a negative mood? And that's how I learned so much so quick. So it was just a process of going through and continually trial and error and continually improving based on what the body was feeding back to me.
And you had you have a very unique approach as well in terms of the way that you approach, and I would say, solve these health issues. And you've attributed it to your background. And when you explained it to me before, it's just the common sense and the logic of analyzing the blood, and then you I think you use the term, I go down the rabbit hole. And I thought this is an extremely cool approach as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at it like looking at a crime scene. You've got to look at all the clues, all the evidence, put it all together. If you can look at some dry blood, look at it from a different perspective. And that's very powerful stuff. I know, I've done thousands of them. It's amazing what you can come up with, but it's about putting it all together. It's about, like I said, it's pulling all the evidence together and being able to piece together. I guess, it's not that difficult to do that. And for probably 70-80% of the people, that would have a significant, impact on their life and their body's ability to heal. We are healing things. This is what we are. Everything in nature is here to thrive. Our body's doing nothing else. It's not trying to do anything else other than maintain health and vitality and help us thrive. If only we give it the right conditions to do so. Yeah, if a giraffe running around in Kruger National Park doesn't start thinking about the vitamins or the minerals or how much water they're drinking or should they have this or should they have that, because they're in the environment that's conducive them for just being what they are. And we have to get back to that to realize that we don't need to heal anything. The body will do that. You cannot replicate the mechanisms behind what goes on with the healing. It will never be ever worked out. It doesn't matter. That's the intelligence of the body. What we need to do is give it what it needs. And that's what I focus on. Forget about the symptoms. Cancer's there because the environment was conducive to cancer being there. Simple. If the environment wasn't there, the cancer wouldn't be there. It couldn't be. It's unleashing what we already have instead of trying to go in to fix something. You can't fix anything. You unleash the body to heal the total body, or you heal nothing at all.
No, really, when
You
when you start to think about it, it makes perfect sense actually, because we're healing ourselves. The body's doing small healings on a daily basis, a maintenance of the system, really.
Yeah. Look, and I think to understand that, and to understand, we all have cancer. Yeah, we all have cancer cells every day, but our immune system deals with it. We don't think about it. And there's very little that's ever going to happen to anyone that isn't already inside your body right now, waiting for the right environment to tell it to switch on. This is why when you have chemistry out of whack, pH is out of whack, things like that, what happens? Low oxygen. What happens? High acidity. What happens? The body starts to think that it's starting to degrade. Then what happens? Well, then right there in front of your eyes, and I've seen it under live cell microscopy, pleomorphic activity, where things suddenly just change from one being to another because it's time to switch on. The environment dictated it. Time to break down, boys, put them back in the earth. This is what's happening. It's always about the environment. Always about the environment.
And certainly I'd say the environment that humans live in currently is not very conducive or supportive to staying healthy, to staying well. But I would say, what you're kind of suggesting, being aware of this and tracking it, we can, just develop a different level of awareness. It's definitely got me thinking a lot more.
Yeah, awareness, and this is what I do with my work and my teaching. I teach professionals all around the world to do what I do, is to be able to learn how to interpret through some simple testing what your body's doing, how it's responding, and reacting according to that, and maintaining yourself in ranges that you're keeping. There are some simple tests you can do at home that can, if you monitor a few numbers, that can give you a pretty good, strong indication that, you're in the, like everyone, shit happens to some people, you can't stop everything. People are going to get cancer that do all the right thing, but in general, you can minimize risk. And I think that's what a lot of this is about. From the minute we are born, we start the process of death. And we will degrade if we live long enough. People will have cancer. Eventually, it will get us. Eventually, our immune system will not be able to cope because it can't. That's what happens. So, what do we need to do? We need to maintain that. How do we do that? Well, we have to understand and take that responsibility away from. Don't move away. I'm not saying move away from mainstream medicine or anyone, but take that responsibility back and monitor so that whatever you're doing, that whether you're moving in the right direction or not. You've got to get a little bit analytical about this, and this is where you can start. Look, shit's going to happen. Stress is going to happen. There's a lot of stress going on around the world, but that stress is depending on your perception, whether it's stress or not. And that can be depending on your ability of your body to buffer and to be able to be adaptive. So when that stress comes, my body, it bounces off. And a lot of people that happens. I mean,
we've talked about this before. I agree to an extent, but there are stresses in the world that are
for sure
just a part of our lives. Should we keep maintaining the stressful lifestyle and just keep buffering? For me,
we must identify if that stress is having an impact on our life right now, a negative impact. It is, yes, absolutely. I work with a lot of people over a 12-month period, and very rarely do we ever get to 12 months. But when we do, I'm like, look, what I'm looking at, something's not right here. And I'll give you an example. Someone that flew over I think she came to Vietnam, actually. And I said, look, it'd be interesting to see how you are and how some of your numbers come through when you leave and when you come to Vietnam. Anyway, she came to Vietnam for 3 weeks and she felt completely different. And then she went back and then she started going back to work. So I couldn't help her. It's her environment, the stresses that she has, the routines that she has, whatever it is she does on a daily basis back in the UK will produce whatever experience she's having, including health issues. We're creating it ourselves.
Yeah, and actually, this could take us nicely into the next kind of train of thought about how your emotional state affects the body's chemistry, and how our consciousness affects our ability to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about epigenetics, and I'm certainly getting more and more into epigenetics, it's really important to understand that. Absolutely, that's part of the environment. And if you really look into it, this is how we trigger life to happen inside, biology to happen inside our body, are triggered by peptides that are triggered ultimately by signals coming into the body through the mind, through the skin, through the senses. That's how it determines what the hell's going on. It's doing that constantly. So the environment, look, it's all important. It's all important when you wake up in the morning to what you think about, what you drink, what you eat, who you deal with. The routine that you have is creating the experience that you are having right now, whatever it is. So change it and start to understand a little bit more about some basic stuff that you can do. And, one of the things with the bloods is that gives them the motivation, because I tell you what, there's nothing more motivation than seeing your bloods, dry bloods, and seeing, 15 to 20% of the bloods that I do with people are precancerous, which means they don't do anything. It's a high chance they'll get cancer. So it's about motivation. Just quickly on that, about the consciousness and motivation, all this sort of stuff. Look, you can do all the blood tests, you can do all the wonderful biochemistry and everything. It's about, you can almost look at this as a prop, because you have to get people thinking, you have to shift long-term conditioning, and it's very difficult. It can take a long time, or you can do it in a second. And if you can do that, you've got them, because they will go away. They'll do their own research. They'll work it out. You start them on that path.
Yeah, through having their own experience and realization.
Yes, because be confronted. You need to be confronted, because shit is going on and you cannot ignore it. You just don't see it. I can see it. I'm telling you.
Human nature.
You have a choice. It's like a lot of people that I know that are overweight. I said, how much do you weigh? They say, I don't know, I'm overweight. I'm never going to step on the scales. Why? Because you do not want to take responsibility. Yeah. Because once you step on the scales, you will see it. Well, once they come to me, they'll take the responsibility, and it's up to you. But I'm telling you, this is what's going on. So let's turn it around so it never becomes a problem. And then we start moving into the thrust of really what I'm all about. And that's, we've got to shift the culture from thinking about, curing a problem. Why the hell have we got the problem in the first place? Let's use prevention. We should not be getting sick in the first place. It's a machine, right? And that's what we need to be focusing on. And I see that what I'm doing here and the business and the company that I'm setting up is going to help push that message and have some influence on getting people to listen through logical common sense with a bit of science thrown in.
I feel like we've become so dependent on other people, telling us and dictating to us as to how to look after ourselves. It is absolutely time, to bring that responsibility. Well, we have to take the responsibility, and a lot of people, don't want to do that. But at the same time, when you take more responsibility, you have more power, you have more control. Certainly for me, I want to know. Actually, I've been thinking about it today. I was like, damn, I'd love to do a dry blood test. I want to know what's going on. And if there is something going on, that can help me, that I can prevent, that can enable me to live a longer, healthier life, I want to know about it now.
Of course, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that I have order tests and stuff like that. I've got maybe hundreds of people over the years that have never done it, and then maybe I'll talk to them and they'll say, "I'm scared about what I'm going to see." I'm like, surely you need to know. Come on,
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. This is a pretty
like,
common
wake up,
mindset,
people.
though. Yeah, it's a pretty common mindset, though. Yeah, it's a pretty common mindset, I would say.
Well, it is because we don't have the information. We don't understand. It's never articulated to us in such a way that we understand. When I do a 1 hour consult, it's a seminar. I tell my clients, you're going to get. I'm not going to hold back. I don't care if you're not listening. I'm going to tell you because I've done my bit. Because I can't not tell you. But we've got to start realizing that we this is what's going. We need to monitor this stuff because we're all falling over the cliff, over the waterfall, and someone's throwing us in up the stream. Because we're caught in this mindset that we cure a problem instead of prevent it.
I wanted to just loop back to the just about raising consciousness, et cetera, and this is something I discovered quite recently. Well, actually, it's like you hear about things, but then piecing things together and how it makes sense is a completely different story, as you know. But I was watching a Bruce Lipton podcast, and then he was talking actually, when you elevate your levels of consciousness into a state of love, so there's this chemical reaction that takes place. And I think, what was it? Dopamine is released.
Yes.
And then on the flip side, so when we are stressed, we're constantly releasing. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's adrenaline, right? We're constantly releasing.
When we have fear, this is what's going on around the world. The first thing that's going to happen is your mentality, your brain power drops about 35%. You start to see all the connections because, look, I work with clients that are in pain. They're fed up. They've been struggling for 10 years. Right. I work with people that want to commit suicide. And, you can't talk, you need to address that, but that's not their most important thing right now. Their most important thing right now is they feel like crap when they wake up in the morning. They have a headache still. They feel aches and pains and they're going, here's another day. When's this going to end? So what you can do, and this is what I focus on. This is where it brings us in because I understand the importance of that. I understand the importance of epigenetics. Is to do whatever I can to get them feeling better as quick as possible. And that's where the biohacking comes in because you can, a lot of biohacking to me is not necessarily fixing something, it's pushing something back into gear. And you can biohack things very, very quickly to get people feeling better very, very quickly. You're not fixing a problem as such, but we need to get that mentality so when they wake up in the morning, and they go like, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit better. You know what? You've just added 35% to any chance that you had today of healing and feeling better and getting better. That's
this is something. And this is something we have control over. And I think when we talk about raising consciousness, this can seem very mystical and spiritual, and there is an element of that. But this is something that requires us to just shift. And it's something that actually, through shifting our emotional state, our body responds. Our body responds to that thought. And this actually, when I started learning about that, this blew me away. The body is responding to what we're thinking and producing a chemical in response to that. Yeah. So,
of course, well, you think about it. Our unconscious mind is nothing but our commander. It is our servant. This is why be careful of what you think about because you just might get it because by your thoughts, you are telling your unconscious mind what you want. And if you tell it enough, it will give it to you because it doesn't question whether it's right or wrong. It just says, if that's what you want, if you're always an arsehole or you're always bad, right, and you keep saying that to yourself, well, then your unconscious mind, which is there to serve you, will produce that it will attract it because that's what you want. That's why we got to be careful about what we're asked for and what we think about. Because can we heal through thought alone? Can we? Yeah, absolutely. I believe we can. Absolutely. As long as we have the chemistry, as long as we have the mix, you cannot dream up chemistry. You cannot, doesn't matter how you think, you can't produce stomach acid if it needs stomach acid. But if you have the mix, can you add an enormous value to healing through epigenetics and through thought and through positive? Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
I believe that. I've experienced that personally as well. Yeah, I've experienced that personally as well. Yeah. I think, once you become aware of it, you start to incorporate this, and then you start catching your thoughts as well, and you start also noticing how, for me personally, through doing meditation, and I resisted meditation for years actually. But when I did start and I started noticing the quality of my thoughts, I was quite shocked. I just thought, my God, this is how I'm talking to myself. What kind of impact is this having on me? And I think we don't even realize it. We don't even realize it. Yeah.
No, we need to, and that's the other side. Like I said, we still need to feel good. We still got to have health. Because I tell you what, when someone's got that and they're happy and they've got a bank balance and they've got a happy marriage, they're going to feel pretty damn good. Yeah. But when they're broke and they're sore and they're fed up, it's so much harder. And that's where a lot of people are. So, but it's that realization, but it's getting that realization through to people. It's difficult because we have conditioning, and it's like the conditioning that we're seeing going on around the world right now. There's people that want to kill each other, and they don't even be based on a meme that they saw on Facebook, for Christ's sakes. Yeah. So it's like I've always said. This has always been my mission with my new business. Is I've done 10 years. I've done thousands of people. It doesn't matter if I knew nothing beforehand, which I didn't really anyway. I've learned so much. I've seen so many patterns, and I've developed my own technique to do this. And so now it's time to get it out there and articulate it in such a way that the average person can understand and practically implement it in their life to make a big difference.
So tell us a bit more about your new venture, because obviously I know about it, but can you share with the listeners as to what your new venture is? Okay,
well, www.biosynergyhealthtechnology.com, which you cannot click on until another, I don't know what the date is today, but it's not until next Wednesday because it's not being released. But not basically, look, I've been working with this for 10 years with thousands of people, and I've seen things that just have blown me away. But I've been very restricted in regards to the reach that I had because I was doing one-on-ones and whatnot. And, when I did my training and I started working with some of the best microscopists in the world, in Australia and in America, and also learning the stuff that I did in Chicago, I knew straight away that this needs to get out there because I'm not seeing it out there. And my logical mind is just straight away. I say this needs to get out there. So with the bloods, it's always been very restrictive as far as shipping stuff backwards and forwards to Australia. So the new venture is basically to really ultimately to be able to provide this blood testing to every practitioner anywhere in the world at a cost that people can afford on a very, very quick turnaround basis because it's saving lives. So it's about getting out there what I've been seeing for so long. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen the patterns because I'm looking at the bloods, I'm looking at the numbers, I'm looking at the people, I'm looking at the chemistry, I'm looking at the biochemistry, I'm looking at the bioelectricity, I'm looking at everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember actually what's really cool is that, we sat and talked about this, I think maybe a year ago, and now, you're breathing life into it, and it's just really remarkable. Yeah, I think the impact that it could have, because people don't really have the means to really go into things at the kind of level that we've just discussed, and now you're going to provide this tool at a decent price.
Not a simple tool. Yeah, it's always been a bug to me, right? It really has. I would do this for nothing. It's always been a bug to me that people cannot afford to get proper natural health without paying a fortune. They can go and get mainstream medicine for free. That's why they go.
Some countries, not every country.
Well, yeah, not every country, but anyway, just to access this sort of, and this is what I did with this business. And we're making everything. We're using artificial intelligence and everything. It's going to be so cool. We're basically going to duplicate everything I do, all the analysis, and everything. People are going to have access to this stuff, and to be able to see and to be able to monitor, and that's what needs to happen, one way or the other.
Yeah, Mark, just to be clear as well, so this is something that individuals can use, but this is also something that can be utilized by health practitioners as well to supplement what they do.
Sure,
already.
Yeah. I run a training course. I'm running a training course in about 5 weeks' time. I work with professionals all around the world. So they'll have access to that to be able to use it for themselves and part of their training. But also we're going to be having a tool within when people log in and they do their bloods, everything's going to be managed. It's all automated completely, but I'll also have access to the analysis tools that I use. So it'll be like a virtual consult.
Yeah.
It'll be, because I say a lot of different things, but I've said them thousands of times over. So, my aim is to try and bring the cost right down, because it's not necessarily the testing that's going to fix them. It's their diet change or some supplements that's going to fix them. But that's the aim.
No, that's remarkable. I'm excited to see how this unfolds. And I think it's going to, it could change a lot of lives for sure.
Well, I think the bloods, especially because our market really, what we're targeting is we've got a lot of people that general public, but it's other professionals, because they see a lot of, to be able to monitor. Can you imagine going into a practitioner and being able to see it before and after, and that practitioner having that tool to be able to monitor the progress and to pick out, remembering that 15 to 20% of the people that I look at are precancerous. Many of them are. So absolutely, it can revolutionize the wellness, and it should do. Something needs to happen.
Absolutely.
And I've seen enough that from the very beginning. Sure, when I was looking at the bloods, I was I did the training and everything. And I'm going like, this is so cool, but is it this simple? Is it this simple? And I tell you, for a while, I wouldn't have been 100%. I would have been like, I'm going to believe in it. But because I've been able to cross correlate, working with so many different other people and looking at so many different other things over 10 years, I now have 100% trust in what I'm, seeing. And it blows me away even today after 10 years. I never get sick of looking at some bloods and then talking to a client and then telling the client what's going on. They haven't told me half of it. I still sit in disbelief sometimes that why isn't one of these things set on a desk of every GP, so that when someone comes in, quickly take your blood. It takes 10 minutes, let it dry, have a quick look. Okay, you're good to go. Oh, hang on here. High levels of oxidative stress. You've got pre-cancer. We've got to do something. That would save so many lives. It would take 10 minutes, and they could do it while they're having the consult. But, so I'll do what I can do. And I've built up some credibility around the world. I have thousands and thousands of people that follow me. I have lots of clients that follow my work with thousands of people around the world. I have a bit of influence now, and I want to see what I can do to push that out there for the sole purpose of helping people prevent having to go through illness, prevent having to get cancer, prevent having to have all that trauma that comes with that. And it doesn't need to happen.
It definitely sounds like you're aligned with your higher purpose.
It's my life. It has been for 10 years. I live this stuff, I love it. I moan about it sometimes. I find it very difficult doing the consults, but I look at it as a 10-year apprenticeship, because this stuff, when I first started, it was so difficult. I learned I might have learned the theory, but in practice, it's like it's hits, it's a numbers game, and over time. But I knew straight away when I started looking at this that I need to get this out there to people. I'm the messenger. I'm certainly not the expert. No way. That's not what I am. I'm just taking the good stuff, putting it together in some common sense, and being able to articulate it in a way that people understand. If we can do that, then I can go to the grave thinking I've started something, or at least help push a change of thinking, global change of thinking. Get away from thinking about curing something that you shouldn't even have in the first place, because there's an assumption, presupposition, that you're going to get sick. Talk about mindset.
This is also crazy. No, this is also crazy. This assumption that we are supposed to get ill, and that we've kind of accepted that we've accepted this in our lives. And this is definitely something that I questioned a while ago. When I had some recurring problems, et cetera, and I just thought, this feels very wrong to me. Why why does this keep on happening? And why do we have this mindset, that we should be stressed, that we should be sick, et cetera? I completely agree. And I think this is something that you and I really align on this.
And our age. Yeah. It's okay as my age. That's crap. That's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. I was 49 years old. Because one thing I forgot to mention is when I did the microscopy training, after going through and finding out that I had all this other stuff, I was very precancerous. My tissues were a mess. I wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
That's
quite a somber thought. That's a somber thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I knew I'm the messenger, because my life mission now is to be able to get this out there somehow and make a difference. And, I've got 10 years behind my belt now, and I think the timing is perfect. People are looking for answers, but more importantly, they're looking for answers that they can understand and they can take control of, instead of relying on every Tom, Dick, and Harry telling them something different about what they need to do for their health without even knowing who the hell they are biochemically.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really treat
the person. This is the problem. We've got these specialists everywhere. They're brilliant people, but they haven't got a clue what the hell's going on with the other person. The digestive guy's got no idea what's going on. The renal guy's got no idea what's going on. The nutrition guy, cancer guy, he's just like, they have no idea. That's the problem. We live in that world of specialization where we're losing it in complexity.
I think in general, the world has become very separated, and we need to connect. We need to come together again.
We need to, getting back to the giraffe in Kruger National Park, when it wakes up in the morning. Do they sleep? I have no idea. I think horses sleep standing up. But anyway, it wakes up. Maybe it doesn't. Does a fish sleep? Does a fish sleep? I'm thinking about, does a fish wake up? There's thought about that. But it just is. It's the isness. Look at a plant. Look at a tree. Did it think anything? Was it stressed? No, it just was, because it's in the environment. You put that tree in the dark and don't feed it and don't water it, what's going to happen? It's the same damn tree, but the environment's different. And that's what we have to understand. We have that we can't have control over everything that's going on around the world right now, but we do have a lot of control over some other things. So let's focus on what we do have control over.
I want to add something else into the conversation, because, we talk about environment, but, literally the environment, nature, etc., really gives us so much. I guess we're meant to, act in perfect harmony with it. It is giving us things to keep us balanced, to keep us healthy, to restore our health. And we kind of treat it as a vacation, to go to nature and recharge. Actually, we really need to flip this around as well. I think nature needs to take a bigger priority, and not just because the world is in such a mess, but this is the way to balance. This is the way to bring about balance.
And we are part of everything. We have to be. This is why when you go to the forest, if you go to the forest for 3 weeks, you'll start feeling like the forest, because you start to take in the energy, the vibration of the forest. We know through oh God, what are we talking? We're talking about the science. I can't remember. It doesn't matter, but quantum physics, quantum mechanics. Understanding that we got these particles flying in and out of us all the time. Where they're going? Well, they're around us. I might be sharing a particle might have just shot out of me and gone into you. Who knows? We're all, because it's the vibration. It's the pattern of that vibration that creates the illusion of life, I guess. But we know that. This is why we got to learn some of these basic things to be able to go like, hang on, all right, work it out, some of this stuff. And we need to get it out there. Like I said, gets back to this, because we know this stuff. We know epigenetics. We have science to back it up now. But so let's put it together.
I want to say something though. We know, but I would say still the public at large does not know.
No, the public at large don't know, because we live in a conditioned world, and we're realizing that now. And that's why it's a mess, because everyone thinks they know and nobody knows anything.
Because it's interesting, I was chatting to someone the other day, and he kept on being concerned about developing cancer because his mum had it. And I'm like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, chronic disease is, in terms of being hereditary, is less than 1% actually in terms of genetics.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. A lot of us will have a cancer gene, but is that cancer gene expressed? Is it switched on? Well, that depends on the environment. Well, what's the environment? Ooh, now we've got to think about the environment. Now we've got to make sure that we have an internal chemistry.
Yeah, and then I said to him, I actually made this point to him, and I'm like, this is not something you should be focusing on, because the more you focus upon this, the more you're developing the environment to actually manifest this within your body.
Your wish is my desire. Be careful what we think about, because if you do, I have no doubt where I'm going with this business. I had no doubt where I was going 10 years ago with this, because I could see it, I believed it, and manifested, because my wholeness knew that that's what I want. It just comes, and the more you think about it, the less it happens, the more because you push it away, the more you got to have that intention.
Absolutely.
But you've got to have the trust in that intention. And then people say, well, that just sounds like a lot of rubbish. It's like when I say to people to go do some grounding, do some earthing, it's probably one of the most important things you can do. So many people believe, well, that's just tree hugging, like a hippie tree hugging thing,
I love hugging trees.
Yeah. Well, there's science behind it. You can explain that pretty easily, what's going on, and then people go like, I go, yeah, that's what you're doing. You can sit down all day long. Or say, you imagine going to bed and lying down, having this drip feeding these antioxidants into your veins, or eating salads all night long. Or you can put a grounding sheet on your bed, and you can suck up all the electrons for free, because that's what you're getting is the electrons. That's what your body needs for balance.
So again,
that is what we do.
Going back to nature, this is provided to us for free. You walk barefoot on the ground, and there's this chemical process that takes place between ourselves and the earth. And again, when I discovered this, I just thought, wow, this is quite remarkable. I mean, there's so much that is provided to us. Yeah.
It isn't until you start thinking about, well, who the hell are we? We're electrical chemical beings, and we know there's really not much to us. So if we're electrical beings, which means the electrical circuitry and messages go, then isn't it important, just like it would be if you bought a new fridge, when you wire up the plug, to earth it, right? The same with us. We should not be insulated. We're not insulated beings. We should be connected to earth, and we have been up until about, I don't know how many years ago, hundreds of years ago, when we started to put synthetic footwear on I truly believe that's one of the biggest reasons why we have so much sickness. I really do.
No,
it's so simple.
I totally agree. I actually read this really interesting book I read this book, Born to Run. There's a Mexican tribe that they run long distance, and they run barefoot, and they live till old age, and they can run these extremely long distances. And actually, I think I can't remember which footwear company tried to sponsor them, and they said no. We don't want to, because they understood the process that took place. I can't remember exactly, but it was called Born to Run. It was a very interesting read.
Just the process of it, because electron. Yeah, go.
No, I just want to switch it up a little bit, and you mentioned before a formula for wellness. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? I know some people are interested in this.
A formula for, okay. Well, I mean, when I talk about the formula, I haven't got it in front of me, but look, the work that I do is based on a number of very, very clever people. Emmanuel Rivisi, for instance, he did a lot of work on cellular dynamics, the membrane dynamics and stuff like that. He did a lot of testing and whatnot. And Rivisi did a lot of work on fluid dynamics, pHs, digestion. He did some testing on that. We've got another guy that did a lot of work on fluid dynamics and zeta potential, colloidal chemistry to understand properties of blood and fluid and flow and stuff like that. It's pulling all those people together, and then each one of those, I've got a number. There's a number. There's a range. When I say there's a range, I have. There's a range of. There's a certain range that your urine and pH consistently needs to be in for your body to be in balance. There's a certain range that the conductivity of your your urine needs to be to know that you're actually moving energy around the body. These are the numbers. There's about 6 of them. And these are the guides I use because I can tell you, this is another thing I didn't believe when I first started doing this testing amongst all these experts around the world doing this training in Chicago, was can it be this simple? And it is. It is. You just got to get your head out of the cloud and not do too much conditioning. And everyone's conditioned. They go to school, don't they? They get a university degree and they learn a certain thing, and that's their belief.
So this comes back to your new venture about people being able to track these things according to this formula. Yeah. Yeah,
well, I mean, and use that formula in the background to be able to guide them to what they need to do because I'll be understanding their chemistry. Absolutely. You know, it's, look, for a lot of people, I know it's very hard because I work with clients, you know, they pay me some money and I do coaching with them. I say, we need to do your pHs. And a lot of them, they go, well, they don't do my pHs. I was, well, I don't know what's going on inside your body. I'm not going to respond to the fact that you had a headache. I'm going to respond to the fact that your pHs were way out that day, that you felt really crap, but we need to do something about it. And we know that the pHs had something to do with it because we were tracking it. So it's all about everything gets back to being able to interpret, you know, being able to learn how to interpret some of this basic stuff and put it together and put yourself into that range. Absolutely. And that's what my whole business is about with the bloods. It's giving them the tool to look at the bloods. But when they match that, when they go onto their dashboard and they go like, well, I can also do this questionnaire and do all these tests, and it will automatically come up with a profile, and it's going to give me some clues as to what to do with some dietary changes or whatever, or maybe a video of me popping up talking to them.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
It needs to happen because I can't keep doing this anyway, and I'm doing a disservice I truly believe I'm a messenger. I am doing a disservice. I'm not. It's not. My responsibility is to get this out there, and I'm not doing it. I need to do it in a much bigger way, and this is what this is about. I could quite happily not do it and live happily ever after. A wonderful lifestyle, living very, very simply in Asia. But it needs to get out there because it's enough is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, you had sort of top 10 tips. Yeah,
I added
top
a couple
10
more
tips.
I'm going to go through them.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, it's sort of top 10 tips for wellness or things to be mindful of. I'm going
to bring them up because, you know, one of the things I've learned with this testing, and this is what I'm going to be teaching and running some courses on as well, some basic stuff for people, is for about 80% of the people, you know, I wouldn't even have to test. You know, for a lot of people that a lot of their issues are just basic stuff. All right. So what I've tried to do when we started doing, you talked about the talk, I thought, let's do the top 6. And I thought, yeah, but there's more. I'm not going to go, top 6. And then if you click this button and pay me $100, I'll tell you the rest. I've got to give more. Because I have to try it without going into too much detail. All right.
Okay. Give us more. All right. Go.
All right. Grounding, earthing. We're electrical chemical beings. Look at a little bit of science, some basic stuff. We need to earth. Look into it. Go into Google. Look into it. Because the most important thing you can do, because it gives us flow. It allows our blood and our body to circulate. If we don't have circulation, we don't have flow. We don't have life. We deteriorate, we degenerate, and the body starts to drop. Sufficient hydration, our river of life.
Mark, I just want to stop you there for a second, actually. Just relating to grounding, I watched a very, very interesting, I'm going to say documentary, but a very interesting short video about a doctor who had a toddler who was struggling to sleep. She kept on crying, etc., etc. And as soon as she started taking her baby outside and letting her play around in the grass, like the toddler's health completely switched. And she started, I found that very interesting. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, don't underestimate it. I know people that dig in the northern hemisphere. Like I've lived a lot of my life grounded. I'm not grounding so much here in Vietnam because it's a bit messy. But I know people in the northern hemisphere that will dig. They dig underneath the house, like in the dirt, and they lay naked in it, and they heal something. It's healing. It's healing, like it's critical. And I know people go, that can't be that simple. Well, it is, but it's subtle. It takes time. Be consistent. And I think I'll say something about that in a minute. All right. Hydration, our river of life, our bloodstream, 75% water. A big majority of the clients that I work with are not drinking enough water. And when I get to that point, it's like, well, if you're not going to drink enough water, there's no point in me talking any further. Please drink enough water. It's important. Our brain will use about 1.5 to 2 liters a day on its own. And it doesn't, I
didn't know about that, by the way.
Yeah. And if we were to compare, I saw a study comparing a monkey or a chimpanzee with human being to be able to really nail it down how much water we should be hydrating. If we were to compare ourselves with a monkey, it should be 5 liters a day for the average human being. All right. Start monitoring vitals. This is a new one. Please. When we got this website up and running, jump onto that site. There's going to be a lot of videos, a lot of information. You don't have to jump on there, and it's going to be. You need to start learning to measure some of your essential vitals, things like pHs, blood pressures, sugar readings. These things are going to give you massive indications as to what's going on with your body, and also a clue what you need to do to be able to quickly hack it back to where it needs to be, like a broken down car. You push it, get it going. It'll take off, and it might be okay from then onwards. But you got to monitor it. Don't leave that up to mainstream, because they're not looking at the right things.
Yeah, I'm actually going to dig out. I did that pH test last year, and I saw my results. And I'm actually going to dig my stuff out and start doing. Start doing that again. Yeah.
The amount of clients that I work with, I say, look, and I have 8,000 odd people. I get lots of questions about this. About the monitoring. And, when I get people that go, like, I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. I'm feeling crap. My energy's crap. I don't know why I'm sleeping well. I say, look, what's your pH? Oh, it's 6.5, 6.6, 6.7. I say, I know what's going to happen. What we can do, we can push that pH down. We can do it. I need to look at another couple of numbers. And instantly they'll start feeling better, because instantly they're changing chemistry. We've got to understand we're like a bowl of chemistry, yeah? When we put anything into the body, and by the way, the body remembers everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch, but it remembers everything, everything that goes on. So we need to monitor, just monitor some of these things. And this is what I've been doing for 10 years. It's like 6 or 7 areas, and that make up the key mechanisms within the body: bioelectrical, biochemical. We need to understand energy flow. This is what you need to, and it sounds really technical, but it's not. And I'm doing my best to make the stuff available so people
monitoring levels.
Sugar, monitoring your sugar levels, please. Blood sugar. Let's think about this. This is really, really, really important. We talk about sugar being a problem. Why is it a problem? Because it's on its own. It's not acidic. It's not alkaline. You can measure, pour a bucket load of sugar in water and measure the pH. There's nothing. It's electrically dead. But what it does do, it has a massive impact on the oxygen levels, which is why you feel tired after a sugar hit. So just remember, blood sugar, as it goes up, oxygen levels come down. And then remember, oxygen is the enemy of cancer and viruses and energy production. When your body can't get hold of sufficient energy, your body switches to a different form of energy production. That's where you start running into problems, because it starts to ferment sugars, where a lot of the acid comes from. But it produces 18 times less efficient, as if you had oxygen. This is where a lot of chronic fatigue is coming from, because the body isn't. So keep that sugar down. That's one of the biggest things you can do. Down below 100, ideally 80. If you're on 120 right now and you push your sugars down below 100, you will feel better. I guarantee you. Boron or borax. I like the borax, but what we're looking for is the boron, 6 milligrams per day. Especially if you're a female, this is a gift. I promise you. You'll never know how valuable the gift is, because you'll never have the problem of crumbling bones when you get in your 50s and 60s. Just do it. It's a no-brainer. Do your homework, Google, whatever. But trust me, you need to do it. MSM, organic sulfur. For about 80% of the people out there struggling with their health, people with arthritis, people with aches and pains, people with parasites, people with poor skin, people with psoriasis, people with eczema, people, you name it. MSM, people that are very vulnerable to cancer as well because of cell membranes being too sticky. I recommend people get into the MSM, try it. It can be life-changing for a large amount of people. I seriously thought about doing nothing other than selling MSM and make a living out of that because it's so much easier to change lives with MSM on its own. Vitamin D, monitor your levels ideally with vitamin D. But please, I know people live in different parts of the world and different countries and work for. Just be mindful that vitamin D is essentially made up of a high percentage of what's in vitamin D is what's in rat poison. It's the same stuff, all right? Because of what it does, it basically overloads the kidneys with calcium. So it's okay. I know we take it on different doses, but it's do you really want to take that stuff? Get it from natural sources. But if your pH of your urine, this is a really good tip. If your pH of your urine is consistently 6.4 or over, this is 2 hours away from eating anything, you should not take vitamin D because your blood will already have too much calcium. And if you have too much calcium, you'll start getting precipitation, you'll start getting calcification, you'll start running into problems with breast cancer, all this sort of stuff, right? It doesn't come from nowhere. Magnesium, everybody. I don't care what you eat, start taking it. 600 milligrams a day for a female, for a male, about 800 milligrams a day. It's hard to get if you're lacking it, if you've had any stress in your life, you've drunk alcohol, you smoked cigarettes, you've done any drugs, you've had any trauma, your magnesium levels will be down, and magnesium is so important. It's so important for anxiety. It's so important for cardiovascular. It's so important for mental health. It's important for depression. Think about magnesium. As I've had clients come in and be very nervous and they're very anxious, and they come in when I used to have a clinic, and I'd say, I used to have a spray bottle because I used to do stuff in clinic. Like, it was really cool because you could do something real quick, and they go like, holy cow. And I'd say, go into the bathroom, strip yourself down as much as you can, spray it all over yourself, just wait about 5 minutes and do it again, and come back here. I've covered them in magnesium, give them a big hit. They come back in, I go, now what was it you were anxious about? And you know what? Sometimes they can't even think. They don't know. They can't remember what it was.
That's interesting.
It's a chill out. It's so important. It really is. That and MSM can be life-changing. Brazil nuts, selenium. Look, it doesn't. Maybe some different people might go to get a blood test. They say that, yeah, my selenium levels are okay. Don't trust those blood tests. All right. Same with magnesium. Blood tests of magnesium, most blood tests testing blood magnesium, not what's in the cell. We need to know what's in the cell. It's different. It's not just about relaxing the nervous system or the cardiovascular system. It's about the body needs magnesium for so many different. It's a very, very, very important electrolyte. How do we move energy around the body? We don't have a copper wire. We have electrolytes. It's just like, how do we expect our body to heal if it doesn't have the power? Where are we going to get the energy from? Where's it going to come from? It's not. We're going to know this stuff. All right. Brazil nuts, just 2 a day. 2 a day. Just do it. Just assume that you will be deficient. Digestive enzymes, if you're over 32 especially, don't believe this nonsense about, don't take, digestive enzymes because then you'll train your body not to make their own. Look, after 32 years old, we start to naturally drop our body's ability to be able to produce the level of enzymes than we used to. This is why we start running into problems when we get to 40 or 50. We don't think about this. The tree that you look at that's got this rotten branch, it didn't just happen overnight. If you looked early enough, you would have seen it. Yeah. So we need to take digestive enzymes. We need to, unless we're on a pure plant-based diet. But if you're over 32 and just make it a habit to take them. Stomach acid. If you're burping and bloating especially, like a lot of my clients, a lot of problems that you could ever think about, if you were to look back and trace it back, which I do every time, you get back to low stomach acid. It's a massive problem with people over 40, 50. And if you were to look at a lot of cancers, we're not going to talk about that right now, but I could very, very easily explain and demonstrate how low stomach acid will cause cancer. Ionic mineral drops. Look, if you're struggling with your health, get some ionic mineral drops. Ionic means it's charged. These minerals are charged. We talked about charging before. We talked about the pH digestive tract impacted by pH, which impacted on the electromagnetic charge. This is why ionic minerals can be really good for you because they increase your body's ability to be able to pick them up. A lot of what we take will just go straight out the back end anyway. Even a brand new system, yeah. If I was to wave a wand and give you a brand new digestive system tomorrow, you're only going to get 35% of what you put in nutrition. It's already a struggle to start with. That's working 100%. All right, we're not getting what we live with this myth that we're what we eat. It has an impact, of course, but it's so much more to that. One of the ones at the bottom. Stop alkalizing. And I know there'll be a few people out there probably listening to this go like, hey, what's... Okay, I'll just very, very quickly, please. Too alkaline or too acid, and you're going to be dead. I promise you. You're going to mess with your chemistry. And if you really want to know what it's like to alkalize, sit down on a sofa, breathe in hard, breathe in fast, heavy, about 20 seconds, see how you feel. Did you feel good? Or did you feel a bit weird and nearly pass out? I know what will happen is you feel really weird and you nearly pass out. Why? Because you alkalized your bloodstream. All right. It's one of the biggest myths out there that because alkalizing is good for you, the more the better. No. Therefore, if we alkalizing minerals, like when we eat alkalizing food, it's because of the minerals, it's nutrition, it's not the alkalinity. Because you know what? Think about this. You are sticking all of this into a bath of acid that will dissolve pure steel. Now, do you honestly think anything's going to come out of it, anything other than acidic? It won't. It has to. It's part of the chemistry. So forget about mindfully trying to, got to alkalize. Yeah, our body needs to be a bit alkaline, but you can have no impact on that directly by what you stick down your throat. And the other thing, last thing, most important.
Okay.
Most important, be consistent. You cannot expect consistent output if you fail to provide your body with consistent input. Most of my clients, this is drawing on experience with clients. I had $1 for every client that when I'm talking to them, they're saying, no, we need some I got some of that. I brought some of that last year. Oh, okay, good. Hey, when did you, I don't know why I stopped taking it. Okay, and I'm like, am I telling you anything you don't already know? Just be consistent. Because if you're not consistent with what you stick into things, you're not consistent with what comes into the body, the output, the experience that you manifest isn't going to be consistent. And you're wondering why you're all over the place. And if you're all over the place, the body is wasting energy trying to manage and put out fires.
I can definitely see how tracking this would be useful then, because I think consistency is something that a lot of people struggle with. But when you're seeing the results and you're tracking it, when I started meditating, I worked with the tracker, and it was really quite rewarding for me to see, oh, wow, I've meditated however many hours. That makes perfect sense then.
You need that. Yeah. People need that feedback to know because it's very motivating. And when my coaching clients, they get, initially after a while, they get used to doing it. And when they start, when I get onto a coaching client, I haven't talked to them for a month, and they'll say, hey, Mike, you know what, last week, when I felt really crap, I woke up, I felt really anxious and I felt nervous and stuff like that. I checked my peer. I realized it was that. I did this and I fixed it straight away. I go, got it. You have control over your health and well-being. You just don't know it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And when that happens, that's what it's about. It's that, wow, but you've got to apply and be consistent and appreciate and respect, especially when you're struggling with your health. Some people could go through and have whatever lifestyle. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to teach anyone about how they live their life, but if you're not where you want to be, you have to do this because you have to bring your body that you've been unknowingly abusing for so long. It's not going to change overnight. You may think there's people that eat shit and do drugs and live for a long, long time and smoke and why? They're lucky. They have that robustness. They're born with that energy. Of course, yeah. Some of us, we do. It's knowing, but it all gets back down to where are you in your life. When I worked with my clients, I say, well, it's up to you. If you're where you want to be, chill out and monitor stuff, but chill out. Stop letting health and wellness and vitamins and minerals and magic potions override your life. Should I eat this? Should I not eat that? For Christ's sakes, fix your digestion. You can eat a cardboard box and get nutrition from it. You're half your problem. It's like you're stressing from the problem. We're so overloaded with all this stuff.
It's interesting you say that, actually, because I did have a similar conversation, and I think, it's almost like we're exchanging one program for another, and we cause anxiety in ourselves by trying to follow a certain lifestyle instead of there must be a level of enjoyment. And again, this comes back to cultivating a high level of consciousness and
and letting go and learning some of this stuff. Like you said, the meditation, learning just as much as you can. What does my body need to be able to thrive? Okay, I need to ground, but go ground. I'm nearly all water. Well, go and drink some damn water. I have to digest my food. Well, then digest your food and then just be. And just experience the isness of life without thinking about anything. You just are. And you don't think about that crap that we shouldn't have to, because we're trying to work it out and you can't work it out. It's a universal intelligence who we are. God, are we going to work that out? Not anytime soon. Just let it be. Yeah? Let it be. And the more you let go, the more it becomes, because you see it and you feel it and you experience it. And then you realize how damn powerful you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, thank you so much. You really shared a lot of really valuable knowledge. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share this. I always enjoy our talks.
Yeah, it's been brilliant, and I think, like you said, I think it's a great idea to record it, get it out there, and get people thinking, and because we do have some good talks, and I have a very, obviously I've got a lot of energy for this, a lot of passion for this, and let's get it out there and just get people talking about this and thinking about it, because you can't argue about it. This is science.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about the crappy scientists around right now trying to trick you about what a virus is or what a virus isn't. This is stuff that's been around for a long time. It's just putting a bit of common sense and chilling out. So, thanks very much, Nat. It's been brilliant and exciting.
Yeah.
Good stuff.